Who is Dajjal? The greatest dream of the Jews for more than 2,000 years has been the dream of returning to the Holy Land as rulers over the land so that they might restore the state of Israel. Established by the prophet kings, David alayhi al-salam and Solomon alayhi al-salam, rebuild the temple that was built by Solomon alayhi al-salam in Jerusalem. A people who dream such a dream as the greatest of all their dreams must be a people who would achieve spiritual greatness. They should be a people who would prefer the hereafter to the dunya world, and whose spiritual insight would penetrate external appearances to recognize the reality of things. At a very minimum, therefore, they should be able to realize that such a noble dream cannot possibly be fulfilled through the creation of an essentially godless state of Israel, and through a reign of terror and oppression in the Holy Land that has now lasted for more than 50 blood-stained years. It is unlikely that the oppression can continue for another 50 years before they face the horrible consequences. Now, the Israelite Jews all believed that their greatest dream could not and would not be fulfilled until that special prophet called the Messiah would appear. He would bring salvation at the end of the ages, when he would be enthroned as king of the world. This reign of the Messiah is repeated elsewhere in the scriptures. Enoch 45-3, 105-2, 28-29, 13, 32-35, 14-9. Of course, European Jews who established the Zionist movement hardly share that sacred attachment to prophecies pertaining to the Messiah. Allah Most High ordained that the false Messiah, Al-Masih el-Dajjal, would deliver to the Jews by deception that which they would embrace as the fulfillment of their greatest dream. That is, return to their holy land, restoration of the state of Israel, the appointment of a king to rule over them. Appoint for us a king that we may fight in the cause of Allah. Quran, Al-Baqarah 2-246, and the reconstruction of the temple. The fact that they have been so utterly and completely deceived by the impostor state of Israel is indicative of their continuing spiritual blindness. But the deeds of those who disbelieve in this Quran and this last prophet, among other things, are like a mirage in sandy deserts, which the man, parched with thirst, mistakes for water, until, when he comes up to it, he finds it to be nothing. But he finds Allah present there with him, and Allah will pay him his account, and Allah is swift in taking account. Quran Al-Nur 24-39. The state of Israel is today in precisely that situation of the man who is parched for thirst and mistakes a mirage for water. Verily, this Quran explains to the Israelites most of the matters in which they disagree, and it certainly is a guide and a mercy to those who believe. Quran Al-Naml 27-76-7. The appearance today is that the greatest dream is almost completely fulfilled. The Israelite Jews have returned to the Holy Land, or are free to do so, from wherever in the world they may be. The State of Israel was created in 1948 and is now a reality. All that remains for the dream to be completed is the appointment of a king and the destruction of Masjid al-Aqsa to permit the reconstruction of the temple. When you come unto the land which God your Lord gives you, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like all the nations that are round about me. You shall then appoint the king that God your Lord shall choose. Implied is the belief that he will be from the house of David. Deuteronomy 17:14-15. In addition, Israel must become the ruling state in the world, and the king of Israel must rule the world from Jerusalem. The compelling implication is that all of this could not have been achieved without the Messiah. This is the appearance. What is the reality? The reality of all of this, when viewed from Islam, is that Dajjal, the false Messiah, has deceived the Jews into believing that divine grace has brought them this close to the complete fulfillment of their greatest dream. The reality is that their spiritual blindness has led them into a divine trap from which there is now no escape. They denounce oppression and injustice in the world, but justify their own oppression and injustice to others. They do so on the grounds that they have a special status with the divine being that others do not have. Since they believe that the Holy Land belongs to them, they also believe that they have the right to liberate it from those who lived on it for hundreds of years. The end justifies the means. The reality is that they have been misled and misguided and thoroughly deceived by Dajjal. Dajjal, the false Messiah, is a being created by Allah, Most High, who would impersonate the Messiah and deceive the Jews into believing that he is the true Messiah. Dajjal was endowed by Allah, Most Wise, with awesome power, versatility, and with great capacity for deception and guile. The Christians know him as the Antichrist. Dajjal, the evil being created by Allah Most High, will one day appear in the world as a human being. When he does so, he would be a Jew and, in addition, he would be a young man who would be powerfully built with curly hair. Prophet Muhammad alayhi al-salam suspected a Jewish youth, Ibn Sayyid. He would be a young man who would be powerfully built with curly hair. Prophet Muhammad alayhi al-salam suspected a Jewish youth, Ibn Sayyid, who was resident in Medina, to have been the Dajjal. In doing so, he confirmed that Dajjal had already been released into the world and would one day appear as a human being, a Jew, a young man. The true Messiah, like Solomon alayhi al-salam, would rule the world from the throne of David alayhi al-salam, that is, Jerusalem. In order for him to do so, it would be necessary for him to first accomplish the following: liberate the Holy Land of the rule of those who do not worship the God of Abraham. Bring the chosen people who, at the time of the announcement of the divine promise, were Jews back to the Holy Land. Restore the state of Israel established by David alayhi al-salam and Solomon alayhi al-salam. Cause Israel to become the ruling state in the world. Only then would it be possible for the true Messiah to rule the world from the throne of David alayhi al-salam, that is, from Jerusalem. If Dajjal, the false Messiah, were to successfully impersonate the true Messiah, it follows from the above that he, also, would have to do all of the above. The question may arise in consequence of the statement made above: if Dajjal, the false Messiah, or Antichrist, is responsible for this grand deception of the Jews, and so much more, and if he is already released and already on earth, then where is he? The Prophet spoke in what may be recognized as the mother of all puzzles, and said the following about Dajjal, the false Messiah. Narrated Al-Nawas ibn Salman: we said, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, how long will he stay on earth? He said, for 40 days, one day like a year, one day like a month, one day like a week, and the rest of the days will be like your days. Sahih Muslim, Sunan Tirmidhi. It will only be at the very end of his life on earth. Therefore, that Dajjal's day will be like our day. Secondly, Dajjal, the false Messiah, will be in our dimension of time, when his day would be like our day. Hence, he would be in our world only at the very end of his life, when he enters into our world, in order to complete his mission of impersonating the Messiah. The promise of Allah Most High was that the Messiah would rule the world from the throne of David alayhi al-salam. That is, from a Jerusalem that would be the heart of the state of Israel. And so, it is clear that Dajjal will be physically located in Jerusalem at the very end of his life on earth, and at that time, since his day would be like our day, it would be possible for us to see him. At that time, we would see him as a Jew, a young man, powerfully built, with curly hair, etc. He would also have to be the ruler of the world, who would rule the world from Jerusalem. Here is the answer to the question concerning the strategic role that Jerusalem is destined to play in the end of history. Prior to that, he will be around us in much the same way that angels and jinn are always around us. And yet, they are not in our world in a day like our day, and hence are not visible. He will constantly attack us to test our faith. He will be weaving his web of deception. But we will not be able to observe him with our normal faculties of observation, since his day will not be like our day. Where on earth will Dajjal be when he is released by Allah? On earth in a day, which would be like a year, and then in a day, which would be like a month. And then finally, in a day, which would be like a week. We know that he will be on earth. But where on earth? Fortunately, we have an answer to the first question, and that answer, in turn, opens for us the possibility to find answers to the other two questions. The answer to the first question is located in the hadith that is known as the hadith of Tamim al-Dari. Tamim al-Dari was a Christian who embraced Islam in Medina. He came to the Prophet alayhi al-salam and narrated to him something that he had experienced concerning Dajjal. It is not clear whether he had a dream, or a vision, or an actual real-life experience. The Prophet alayhi al-salam responded by asking the people to keep sitting after the prayer in the masjid, so that he could narrate to them what Tamim had experienced concerning Dajjal. He went on to declare that what Tamim al-Dari had narrated to him confirmed what he, the Prophet alayhi al-salam, had himself been saying concerning Dajjal. Here is the hadith. Narrated Fatima bint Qays, sister of Ad-Dahak ibn Qays, Amir ibn Sharahil ash-Shabi said, Fatima bint Qays was among the first emigrant women. I asked her to narrate to me a hadith, which she had heard directly from Allah's Apostle peace be upon him, and there was no extra link between them. She said, very well, if you like, I am prepared to do that. He said to her, well, do so, and narrate it to me. She said, so I set out towards the mosque, and observed prayer with the Allah's Apostle peace be upon him, and I was in the row of the women, which was near the row of men. When Allah's Apostle peace be upon him had finished his prayer, he sat on the pulpit, smiling, and said, every worshipper should remain sitting in his place. He then said, do you know why I have asked you to assemble? They said, Allah and his apostle know best. He said, by Allah, I have not made you assemble for exhortation or for a warning. I have detained you here because Tamim Dari, a Christian who came and accepted Islam, told me something which agrees with what I was telling you about the Dajjal. He narrated to me that he had sailed in a ship with 30 men of Banu Lakm and Banu Judum, and had been tossed by waves in the ocean for a month. Then these waves took them near the land within the ocean island at the time of sunset. They sat in a small rowing boat and landed on that island. There was a beast with long thick hair, and because of this they could not distinguish his face from his back. They said, woe to you, who can you be? Thereupon it said, I am Al-Jassasa. They said, what is Al-Jassasa? It said, O people, go to this person in the monastery, as he is very much eager to know about you. He, the narrator, said, when it named a person for us, we were afraid of it, lest it should be a devil. Then we hurried on till we came to that monastery, and found a well-built person there, with his hands tied to his neck, and iron shackles gripping his legs by the ankle. We said, woe to you, who are you? He said, you soon come to know about me, but tell me who you are. We said, we are people from Arabia, and we embarked upon a boat, but the waves had been driving us for 1 month, and they brought us near this island. We took to the rowing boats and landed on this island. Here, beast with profusely thick hair met us, and because of the thickness of his hair, his face could not be distinguished from his back. We said, woe be to thee, who are you? It said, I am Al-Jassasa. We said, what is Al-Jassasa? It said, you go to this very person in the monastery, for he is eagerly waiting for you to know about you. So we came to you in hot haste, fearing that that might be the devil. He, that chained person, said, tell me about the date palm trees of Bazan. We said, in which respect do you seek information about it? He said, I ask you whether these trees bear fruit or not. We said, yes. Thereupon he said, I think these will not bear fruit. He said, inform me about the lake of Tabaria. We said, what do you want to know about it? He said, is there water in it? They said, there is an abundance of water in it. Thereupon he said, I think it will soon dry up. He again said, inform me about the spring of Zughur. They said, what do you want to know about it? He, the chained person, said, is there water in it, and does it irrigate the land? We said to him, yes, there is an abundance of water in it, and the inhabitants of Medina irrigate land with its help. He said, inform me about the unlettered prophet. What has he done? We said, He has left Mecca and has settled in Yathrib Medina. He said, do the Arabs fight against him? We said, yes. He said, how does he deal with them? We informed him that he had overcome those in his neighborhood, and they had submitted themselves before him. Thereupon he said to us, had it actually happened? We said, yes. Thereupon he said, if it is so, that is better for them that they show obedience to him. I am going to tell you about myself. I am the Dajjal, and will be soon permitted to leave. So I shall leave and travel in the land, and shall not spare any town where I shall not land within 40 nights except Mecca and Tauba Medina. These two places are prohibited areas for me, and I shall not attempt to enter either of them. An angel with a sword in his hand will confront me and bar my way, and there will be angels to guard every road leading to it. Then Allah's apostle, peace be upon him, striking the pulpit with the help of the end of his staff, said, this implies Taiba, meaning Medina. Have I not told you an account of the Dajjal like this? The people said, yes. And this account narrated by Tamim Dari was liked by me, for it corroborates the account which I gave to you in regard to him, Dajjal at Medina and Mecca. Behold, he Dajjal is in the Syrian Sea Mediterranean, or the Yemen Sea Arabian Sea. Nay, contrary, he is in the east. He is in the east. He is in the east. And he pointed with his hand towards the east. Fatima bint Qais said, I preserved it in my mind, this narration from Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him. Sahih Muslim.